A true story about Joanne and Jay, a Jewish woman and a gang leader who fall in love while fighting injustice against the backdrop of the Los Angeles 1992 riots. In the opening scene, we get to see the protagonists. While Joanne is enjoying her luxurious life on her private yacht in the middle of the sea, Jay is chased by the police, which eventually leads to his arrest. Los Angeles, 1990 is when it all takes place. After finishing a phone call with her dad, Joanne heads to the lunchroom to get some coffee. As she's pouring herself a cup, her boss comes in. Being new at the job, she starts introducing herself, but the boss only compliments her on her looks. Trying to be polite, she changes the subject and proposes an idea. Having an idea about the chain of command, she suggests they film segments for the game shows at different hotels and create special ad packages where the hotels are featured. Impressed by her idea, her boss promises to take her ideas upstairs, but changes the subject to her looks once again, as he comments on her body and advises her to wear short skirts. Things seem not to be going so well for Jay, as well as we see him bothered by his inmate doing push-ups. Despite having the chance to work out outside, his inmate reveals that the Bloods, a gang at the prison, are taking more of their time than they should on the weights. When they go outside, everyone is ready to win over their time by fighting with the gang. However, Jay steps in and asks them to stay still as he heads to where the gang is. He manages to get his point out in a civilized manner, letting the leader know that if they fight over the weights, they will be laughed at when they go out. Later in the evening, we see Joanne at a formal event where she is taking some food. Her best friend comes out of the theater, gushing over the movie she had just seen. Joanne claims to hate movie premieres, despite working in the entertainment industry. She congratulates the actors on their performances but hates the male executives who view her as a piece of meat. Not wanting to be there anymore, Joanne takes a newspaper with her food before heading out. In the newspaper, she reads about Leon Watkins, which leads her to the family helpline. Beverly Williams meets her at the front and guides her to his office. Despite being busy, he sits down to hear her out, and she reveals that she's looking for a job at their organization. He asks what makes her qualified, and she starts going on about her scholarship in swimming, claiming that it takes a lot of concentration and discipline to do that. Leon reminds her that there are no swimming pools in their job but serious problems, and while he appreciates her enthusiasm, he doesn't think that she'll be good at the job. Not taking no for an answer, she lets him know that she's not using her privileged white guilt, but wants to help honestly. Leon tells her to come back when they're on more solid ground, but when Beverly asks her whether she knows anyone famous, everything changes. In the middle of the night, Jay's inmate is awoken by Jay packing his stuff. Surprised, he asks him what he's doing, and Jay reveals that he's going home the following day. It becomes clear to his inmate that he didn't get involved with the Bloods because he was trying to behave. However, Jay reveals that his previous inmate had attacked a prisoner while being at the end of his trial, and he was charged with 25 to life. The morning comes and Jay can be seen returning to his home with everyone waiting for him. To celebrate his return, they have a party where everyone can be seen having a good time. Leon goes to a school to deliver a powerful speech to motivate the kids to do better, but kids being kids, they ask him non-related questions without paying attention. Frustrated, he leaves the classroom to talk to Beverly. She asks him to calm down right when Joanne appears with the famous basketball player Armin Gilliam. Armin gets inside the classroom and the kids are more than happy to see him. Leon can't believe that Joanne knows Armin, but she reveals that she had gone to college with him, proving that her swimming scholarship matters in the end. He welcomes her to the team and we see them reading a prayer. Feeling inspired by the great feeling of helping people, Joanne asks what she should do next. Sitting her down, Leon advises her not to overreach. He reveals that his goal is to get stores and businesses to hire people who are in the community, while Beverly works on transportation for people to visit their loved ones in prison. It seems like jail wasn't enough of a lesson for Jay as we see him selling to his father. Ashamed, his father apologizes for not visiting him in jail, but Jay lets him know that it's all right. The organization fights against trying to help young people get back on their feet. They visit a young girl named Cease, who has sold her TV to buy some. Seeing her all bruised up, Leon promises to get her the help she needs by sending her to rehab. Cease agrees to that as she hopes for a better tomorrow. However, she isn't the only one that decides she wants to change her life. While filling his car at the gas station, Jay gets shot at, barely missing the bullets as his car gets destroyed before running off. In the evening, Joanne talks to her parents on the phone as they ask whether she has received the check they sent her. Joanne thanks them for the check as it would be helpful for her rent, before letting them know about the volunteer job at South Central. Realizing that they will never allow her to volunteer, she pretends as if it had been just an idea so that she can hang up the call. All of a sudden, the door bursts and a scared Jay walks in. As Beverly and Joanne are trying to help him, out walks Leon, who already knows Jay. Jay tells the truth about being shot at and asks for a small loan since the car is his sister's, which she uses to drop her kids off at school. Leon goes in the back to get a stash, so Jay takes the chance to give his number to Joanne, letting her know that if she needs someone to show her around to call him. Taking the money, Jay thanks Leon for it and promises to get it back before leaving. Beverly watches as Joanne stares at the piece of paper and advises her to throw it out because she'll be getting herself in a lot of trouble getting to know him. Returning home late in the night, Leon sees a birthday cake on the table and soon realizes that he had missed his son's birthday. Knowing that his job requires him to be available at all times, his wife understands, but she can't help but be disappointed as she tells him to forget about it and come to bed. The next morning comes and we can see that Joanne has fallen asleep on her couch. Her best friend Sandy wakes her up by coming in with coffee in her hand. Seeing that she has fallen asleep on top of the phone, Sandy asks her who she has talked to. With a smile on her face, Joanne reveals that she had talked to Jay for 3 hours the previous night. Surprised that her friend is talking to a gang member, Sandy assumes the worst of him, but Joanne assures her that he's nothing like that. She calls him smart and full of good ideas with a charming smile and even reveals that she'll be meeting him later in the afternoon. Wanting to make things right the following day, Jay asks his wife to have a conversation. She is mad because he promised to be there but unfortunately missed it. Leon admits that he's wrong but lets her know that everything he has done and everything he does is for them and their family. Frustrated by his work being more important, she lets him know that she's not asking him to change the world for her, but rather to be home on time for dinner. Claiming to be able to do that, he comes closer and they share a sweet kiss. Going to work with a positive attitude, he is greeted by Beverly, who hands him coffee and donuts. However, coming into his office, he is met by Malik, who has a gun in his hand. Frustrated, he lets Leon know that someone is harassing him and that he is close to snapping. He has come to ask for help since he doesn't want to go back to jail. After handing his gun to Leon, he sits down and reveals that his brother's parole officer is bothering him by asking him where his brother is. The biggest problem is that the officer doesn't believe that he doesn't know where his brother is, and even threatens to lock him up for abetting a criminal. As they're driving around the community, Jay asks Joanne what she sees around her. Not knowing what he's exactly asking for, she tells him that she sees stores and buildings around her. Being raised in the community, Jay lets her know that all he sees is a dude fiending for a young girl that's about to make a month's rent in the backseat of a car, and a mother who's lost her son in a drive-by. The problem is that nobody wants to see that, as they might feel obligated to do something. Driving further down the road, Jay shows her the Bloods' territory where she would probably be robbed if she got out on her own. They touch upon slavery, and while Joanne claims that people aren't like that anymore, Jay lets her know about Latasha Harlins. She was a young black girl who walked into a Korean-owned liquor store to buy a bottle of orange juice. Unfortunately, the owner accused her of stealing and shot her in the head. She died instantly at the age of 15. After exploring the city, they sit down at a pizza place. Joanne tries to pay but Jay doesn't let her, claiming that it's his place so he should pay. Wanting to do something for him, she pulls out her wallet ready to pay, but she takes offense to ID. Assuring her that he's not a charity case, he leaves money on the table for the food and gives her a stash to return to Leon before heading out. Back at the office, Leon looks for Joanne but she's not at the office. Right when Beverly leaves, she shows up apologizing for forgetting to call. She lets him know that she had spent her day getting to know the community. However, once she reveals that she spent her day with Jay, Leon's face drops. Not wanting her to get into any trouble, he forbids her from seeing Jay again, claiming that she might catch a bullet because he has a target on his back. Despite fighting back, Joanne claims that she'll never see him again, so it doesn't matter to her. As if thighs weren't bad for Joanne already, she finds out that her boss had stolen her idea and he is being credited for it. After finishing her corporate job, she heads to the organization when Jay stops her at the entrance. He apologizes for acting in such a way, since in his community letting a woman pay is insulting. However, Joanne lets him know that she was only being grateful for his honesty, and that's why she wanted to pay. He insists on taking her out, but she reminds him that she has a job to go to, suggesting he comes to help her as well. And he is of great help as he answers a call once they get in. A concerned lady calls the organization to complain about some men being in her front yard. Instead of panicking, Jay asks her to turn the sprinklers on without them seeing her. Confused, Joanne asks what the sprinklers are going to change, and he lets her know that it will make the boys go away without any trouble. Living in such a neighborhood, things usually escalate, so Jay's suggestion is beneficial to the community. If the police were to come, the white guy wouldn't be blamed no matter what. Joanne thinks that Leon wouldn't have handled it in such a way, but Jay reminds her that he's not Leon. She assumes that she doesn't like Leon, but he claims otherwise. It's not that he doesn't like him, it's the fact that Leon presents their community as less compared to others. He doesn't know that the young black men appreciate being in a unity where there's loyalty and devotion, despite it being a gang. Joanne quotes her father once again about never underestimating unity, but Jay can't help but laugh at the fact that she quotes her father a lot. Laughing, Joanne reveals that she's close with her parents and tries to call every day. Interested, she asks about his father and he reveals that he didn't grow up with him. However, he admits to selling because he doesn't want him to get involved with bad people. Joanne is shocked, but Jay says that he can't help his father since he is a grown man. Wanting to be honest with him, she reveals that her brother is an addict as well, but her family denies it since they are delusional. Jay's phone rings, interrupting their conversation, and he has to go. Wanting to get to know him more, Joanne invites him to a party on the weekend, and he accepts with a smile on his face. Right as he's leaving, Leon walks into the office. Upset, he asks Joanne why she's breaking her promise, but she lets him know that Jay had come to apologize and had offered to volunteer. Knowing that Jay's in the Crips, Leon reminds her that they're neutral, and having Jay volunteer might upset the Bloods. Therefore, they could come shooting up the place and he can't afford that to happen. It is a playground, and Leon is more than proud of the work Joanne has done, so he asks her not to let him ruin her life. After work, Leon can be seen enjoying a drink when his friend, who is a police officer, sits next to him. Devastated that their people are being killed off, he apologizes for being late as there had been another drive-by shooting. Since they're on the topic, Leon lets him know about Malik's case and how the police officer keeps harassing him. This is gang-related, so the police officer doesn't want to get involved since 17 teenagers had been killed because of them, just that day. Leon reminds him that he comes from the same community and justifies the young gang members by saying that they had been thrown into that life. The police officer doesn't deny his statement. However, he reminds him that some of the members are just plain bad. Leon assures the police officer that Malik's telling the truth, so he agrees to do something about it. The weekend comes and we can see Joanne and Jay entering the party together. They are greeted by Sandy, who immediately admits that Jay's hot. The rapper performs and the crowd goes wild. After dancing for a while, Jay leans in closer to Joanne and they share their first kiss. One kiss turns into many as we see them returning to Joanne's place and spending the night together. The record player plays in the morning as Jay's booking over the amazing view from the apartment. Joanne comes by his side wondering whether he's always happy in the morning, and he lets her know that she's partially the reason for it. He asks whether she had told Leon about their relationship, and she claims that she doesn't have to say anything to him since he's not her father. Jay takes the chance to ask whether she's told her father about their relationship, but before she answers, her roommate Sandy walks in. Joanne's father is soon to find out as we see Leon calling him on the phone. Going to her corporate job, Joanne finds her boss in the lunchroom. She confronts him about stealing her ideas, but he claims to have forgotten to mention her name. Already upset, she lets him know that he had committed fraud by lying, but he reminds her that she works for him and any idea she has is his. Knowing that he's wrong, she says that it isn't his company and wonders what the board of directors will do once they find out what he's done. Feeling threatened, he demands she goes back to her desk and thinks about the consequences of her actions, but she asks him to do the same since she's quitting. Returning home, she is met with some horrible news as her parents call her. They love their child but can't get over the fact that she's dating a black man, let alone a gang member, so they tell her that they're cutting her off and all the financing that they do for her. Knowing that it must have been Leon who had snitched her, she walks in the rain to the office. Absolutely drenched, she gets into his office and lets him know that he has ruined her life. He lets her know that he's actually trying to save her life and that it is his business since she asked him to get him a job. Joanne is disappointed that he had made her father disown her just because she's dating a black man, but doesn't understand how Leon's fine with that. While her parents being racist might be true, Leon lets her know that the fact that Jay is an ex-convict might be more concerning to them. Letting him know that he's being a hypocrite for not treating Jay the same as other people in the community, she reminds him of the saying in the Bible about letting a man return to his Lord. However, Leon argues with another saying in the Bible as he references Proverbs 24:11. The only thing Leon wants to do is take care of Joanne, but she reminds him that he has his own children he needs to take care of. She lets him know that she won't be coming back before leaving the office. As time passes, more violence is conducted in the city, with gang members holding violent protests, and black people attacking the police, making the black community concerned as well. Jay and Joanne fight their problems and stay together no matter what comes their way. We see them moving into his sister's apartment as Joanne wonders where to get a job. Knowing that she loves working for the community, Jay suggests she gets a similar job in a different organization. However, Joanne gets the brightest idea as she suggests they start their own organization with their program and his great ideas. Jay is doubtful. He believes that they don't have enough resources and people to start the business, but she reminds him that she has grown up in the world of business and can get any contact they want. And that is how Future in Action is born. We see young men volunteering for the organization as they make calls to different people to let them know about it. Jay walks in with food and they sit down to enjoy it. However, his friend gets a call and they take Joanne's car before leaving. As they're driving, his friend asks him about Joanne while complimenting the way she looks. Realizing that he's hinting about his change of personality, Jay assures him that it wasn't Joanne who changed him, but rather bullets scaring him to death. Rather than being upset, his friend is proud of him for being a changed man since he has something meaningful in his life. Inspired by the mess that's been going on, Leon tells his wife that he's ready to sit on the political table as he plans on running for city councilman. Sitting down next to him, his wife reminisces about the time he had started the organization and how people used to come up to her to express their gratitude. No matter what, his wife is ready to support him. She knows that he'll always be divided between house life and his job, but she is willing to accept that as her husband's work is magical. Concerned, Leon asks whether she is mad about her kids, but she assures him that she'll make sure that their kids are good. However, she reminds him that the years they have are precious and that they're not coming back. It is his decision to make, and that is why she doesn't want to get involved in that. Leon knows that it will be a tough fight, but there is no fight that he's ever backed out of. Jay doesn't show up all day, so Joanne calls his sister to find out where he is. His sister assures her that he'll be fine since he knows his way around. Joanne claims to know him by claiming that he's not the same man anymore, but his sister asks him whether she knows about the gun he's carrying with him all the time. Right as she says that, Jay walks in, so Joanne hangs up the call. Concerned, she asks him where he's been and he tells her that he has been handling business. He reveals that it bothers him that people are calling him soft as baby skin, so Joanne starts asking him a lot of questions. He compares her to a cup, so she screams in his face to shoot her. Picking up his gun, he puts it to her head but doesn't have the guts to pull the trigger. He asks her why she's there and she reminds him that she has left everything for him. Tears fill his eyes as he puts down the gun and apologizes. Telling that he loves her, he admits to being terrified, and though she is as well, she reminds him that having each other is stronger than being apart. Leon Watkins has decided to run for city council, so we see him at his conference. He lets the people know that he is ready to change the city and become the councilman they need. A councilman that will fight for the people's rights and fix the problems in the community. Beverly meets him after his speech to let him know that he was good, but he complains about there being a lot of empty chairs in the crowd. Not ready to fail, Beverly suggests they go to them instead of waiting for them to come. Leon walks from door to door, but the numbers stay bad. His partner assures him that numbers don't matter as they sit down to discuss. She thinks that the narrative matters, a fight between the good and the evil and getting the ending that they want. Beverly lets the woman know that they're talking about politics and not making a show. The woman firmly believes that politics is the biggest show there is, and even claims that she can turn the whole situation around because people listen to whatever she has to say on election day. Furthermore, in his campaign, we see Leon giving an interview when the woman asks him why there should be any care for the people who rob. Leon reminds her that these people weren't born bad, but became bad because of the community failing them. It might feel like an obligation, but Leon encourages people to help their neighbors in need, to love them as they love themselves, and to end the bad cycle. He firmly believes that the good in people can overcome all the bad and that his community has problems that can't be solved with juice and crackers. After his interview, he heads to the restaurant with his family, letting his wife know about the details of the campaign. We see Jay with the leader of the Bloods trying to make amends. He suggests he joins Future in action to forever change the streets and fight the violence. Right as he's about to leave, he sees Leon and his family entering the restaurant. Jay assures him that he's serious about his organization, but Leon doesn't believe him. Knowing that he's upset about Joanne, Jay tells him that he's not taking her away from him but rather adding to her. The night before Jay does his speech about Future in action, he decides to relax with Joanne by having a bubble bath. Noticing that she's being quiet, he asks her whether she has something to tell him. Hesitant at first, Joanne reveals that she's pregnant, and Jay couldn't be happier about it. The next morning, we see Jay and the leader of the Bloods giving a wonderful speech motivating the youth to stop the violence. They encourage them to stop fighting and help each other because it is evident that the police don't care about them. Their speech is broadcasted, so we see everyone watching it on their TVs. While Joanne is watching her man with love in her eyes, Leon and Beverly are taking notes while Joanne's parents watch in regret. To celebrate, Jay and Joanne invite some of her friends for dinner. While they're excited about his campaign, they seem not to know a lot about the community. Jay reveals that he is most excited to talk to Martin Luther King's son, as he feels the pride to present South Central. Things may be going well for Jay and Joanne, but we can't say the same for Leon. Unfortunately, he loses the election, and while everyone is there to support him, he chooses to be alone as he goes back to the office to drink. Some time passes and we see Jay waiting in the emergency room as Joanne is giving birth to their beautiful baby daughter. Entering her room, he sees his beautiful baby girl for the first time staring at him with her big brown eyes. Joanne lets him know that she hasn't named her, so he decides that Danielle will be the perfect name for her. They had already gone out of the hospital by the time we see Jay calling Joanne. Putting the knife down after chopping some vegetables for lunch, Joanne answers the call. Jay asks her to kiss his daughter for him as he lets her know that he'll be home shortly, but unfortunately, that would be the last time Joanne speaks to him as he gets into an accident that results in his death. A police officer comes by the house to let Joanne know about Jay and she breaks down. Time passes by but Joanne can't seem to heal as we see her breaking down. Guilt catches up to her parents, so her mother calls her to apologize. After sending the voicemail, she breaks down as her husband comforts her. Leon decides to catch up with Joanne and we see him waiting for her outside. Once she comes, he apologizes for not talking to her at the funeral, but she assures him that the Crips had shown up for him. As they go for a ride, Leon admits to being wrong about Jay. Considering her as a daughter, he lets her know that Jay hadn't lived his life in vain as he shows her the streets that have gotten better because he walked on them. Jay has taught the youth that they don't have to hate their neighbor just because they're different, and no matter what they can change and reach higher ground. Tears falling down her face, she hugs Leon as she says that they're going to do great things together. Danielle has already grown up a little when we see her next. Joanne sits on the beach as her daughter plays in the sand writing a letter to Jay. In the letter, she lets him know that he had helped her go against all the odds in life, and it is all because of the love she had and felt from him. Despite Jay passing away, Joanne has fought to tell his story all over the world and actively does it to this day.